direct conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration ain't late me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me.
Thank you, Vandello, and welcome back to Ret Conversations. My name is Josh Wasta, and with me, she's not like you guys. She's not like you. It's Leia Cameron.
Hello, everyone.
And with us, returning guest, Cory Peter, who is with us on the Sins of Sinister episode. So you are 100% on Leia's list right now.
And yet I came back.
And yet you came back.
We allowed you to come back
With King in Black. So we'll see if you get a three-peat. So today we're going to be discussing King in Black. This is a 2021 event that happened for reasons.
Certainly happened.
Yes. This is actually the basis for the newest Deadpool movie. Or Deadpool. The basis for the newest Venom movie, which I have not seen yet.
Neither have I, so I can't really provide any insight there.
Yeah, I generally do not go to see the Sony stuff in the theater.
Yeah, it's a smart move.
Yeah.
So unless
Read this being
Spider-Verse is fine.
Yeah, Spider-Verse is fine. But yes, you're right. Once it's free to stream, I'll check it out then. I might actually rent it, the Venom ones. There was no way I was going to actually spend money on Morbius or Madam Web.
No, absolutely not.
No, thank you.
Absolutely not. I would have done a wellness check on you if you had.
Yeah, right. Okay, so for this, for anybody who is not tuned in before, this is how this is going to go. I am the presenting professor, Professor J. The reason for that is I thought originally that this was going to be an X-Men book. I have confused this with whatever the storyline is where they go into space and meet the third Summers brother. So I will be presenting this one. I will be taking Cory through every aspect of this comic. One of the new features that we have is I will actually be showing him the comic as we go through it, so he can enjoy the artwork.
I like it.
Yeah. At any point, Cory has the obligation to pull the emergency brake, give us all a break, and ask a question or two, or make a comment, whatever he feels like doing. At that point, it is the duty of Professor L, Leia, to answer those questions. She has already indicated to me that she doesn't know what the fuck is going on in this book.
Yeah, I may or may not be very helpful in answering questions because I feel like a lot of this is just going to be shrug emoji.
At that point, it comes back to me. If I cannot answer it, it depends on whether or not Miss Jennifer Howland decides to join us. We do have an Artemis in the room, so we'll see.
We'll ask her. She seems reliable.
Yes. Yeah, we'll ask Artemis. Artemis will just make my dog will then just answer our questions.
And it'll probably make more sense than whatever it is in the comic anyways.
Absolutely. If Jennifer does join us, she will give an answer. It will then become canon. Marvel has to write it in their wiki. But if she's not here, then Leia and I will just shrug our shoulders, wave our fingers, and go comic books. This one probably more than most.
Yes.
So a little backstory to the King in Black that we're going to need. And I feel like we have done an episode that leads up to this, or at least I have read a book that leads up to this.
So yeah, I feel like there were a couple of things I was like, I feel like I've heard of this before, but I don't. I mean, I don't know. We may have. We did Absolute Carnage, so maybe that's part of it.
Yes. This is a lot of this takes place. It takes place after Absolute Carnage, and Absolute Carnage was where Carnage was trying to rip all the symbiotes, put them together, and summon the god Null, the god of the symbiotes. King in Black takes place after that, where Null is awakened. So this is just a continuation of Absolute Carnage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we begin with Eddie Brock. He is on the top of a skyscraper looking down upon the city. He can feel that Null, the god of the symbiotes, has arrived on Earth, and he calls Captain America, who sends out the call to all Avengers to assemble the world over. Eddie then goes to his house or his high-rise apartment and wakes up his son Dylan, who can also feel Null coming. Dylan, as we found out from Absolute Carnage, has a piece of Null, the god, in him. That was apparently
His Horcrux.
It is his Horcrux.
I mean, fuck J.K. Rowling, but that's the best way to describe it.
Absolutely.
And this is just from like being Venom's son and like the son of someone with a symbiote, or how does
Sexually transmitted symbiote. I don't
Yeah. Shrug emoji.
know.
Eddie Brock looks a lot like Thor in these panels?
So that's who I thought it was when I first started reading, and I was like, Thor has a son.
A lot of these people look like a lot of others. Like there were times that like I confused Eddie Brock for Tony Stark. Yeah. And the art in this is not my favorite.
Yeah, it's not even that it's bad art. It's just that sometimes, so I mean, like in real life, I have face blindness with human beings. And sometimes this translates to comics when somebody draws a character in a slightly different way than I'd seen it before. I'm like, I don't know who that is. That's a stranger, you know? So that contributed, I think, a lot to my confusion on here. And it's not to say that I think the art is terrible. It's just that they're the picture
wrong.
characters in ways that are kind of ambiguous, at least for my eyes.
It's not bad, it's just wrong.
Yes. There we go.
Okay, so hold on one second. Boop. Okay, so back on Avengers Mountain, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Cap, and then it's either She-Hulk or Gamora.
Unclear.
Yeah. Muscly, green chick.
Yeah.
I don't get Gamora being that swole, so
Yeah, I assumed it was She-Hulk, so
Yeah, but she doesn't say anything or do anything.
to indicate who she is. Like, hello, I'm She-Hulk. I'm here to observe this.
Right. So Tony's big plan for plan A is so the symbiotes don't give off heat signatures. And Krull is coming with an army of them. So they don't know when they're going to hit Earth. So Tony's plan is, well, we've got all these Kree and Skrulls warships from various battles that just hang out in orbit. So I've wired them all to blow. And then when the symbiote horde arrives, I'm just going to explode all the ships. Carol goes, okay, well, there they are. And, Tony's like, okay, let's do this, and just blows up all of these ships in Earth's orbit. Nothing bad, I'm sure, could happen at all.
Surely there's no fallout from that.
Right.
Yeah. This is a very short comic.
Right. Eddie, meanwhile, with Dylan, can feel that the bombs didn't even slow the army down. Like, it took out 100 or so of them, but there's hundreds of thousands of these symbiotes. The Avengers realized it at the same time and mobilized to go and fight as thousands upon thousands of symbiotes just fall onto New York. Now, this is brought up a little later. I'm going to bring it up now because it is something important to know. The regular symbiote that you and I know that bonded with Eddie and made Venom, or bonded with Cassius Clay, or Cassius, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Cassidy. Thank you. Not Cassius Clay. Cassius Cassidy.
I was like, I knew you were wrong, but I was going to wait for you to figure it out.
Flow like a butterfly, sing like carnage. Anyway.
I'm leaked.
Yeah. Those are like the foot soldiers of the symbiotes. Everything dropping here are called dragons. These are apparently like the ultimate symbiotes. So these are all like super, super powerful symbiotes. Eddie takes Dylan to a safe room, which I don't remember if we've covered this in the show or not. I know I have read it, but there's a safe room. Peter has told Eddie where a safe room is. This is the safe room that Silk, who is a whole other story, was kept in for decades. in order to keep her as part of this whole thing with the Spider-Verse stuff.
Oh, she's kind of like the Winter Soldier of Spider-Man, right?
Yes.
Thinking right?
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
I'll allow it.
So Eddie's basically taking Dylan to this room to basically just lock him up. Dylan insists that he can help because he has powers, and Eddie's like, no, your responsibility isn't to fight. My responsibility as your dad is to take care of you. So you're going to go in here. You're only involved like because of my mistakes. You only have a symbiote in you because of me. Over Eddie's earpiece, Cap says that they're going to Plan B, which Eddie is like, yep, I know. Plan B is street heroes that have electricity-based powers. The only thing that the heroes know about Null when it comes to weaknesses are electricity, cosmic power, and maybe magic. They're not really sure. Cap is like, we do not have enough people here for this. We need reinforcements. And that's when Professor X and the X-Men arrive. And more importantly than any of the other X-Men that are here, Storm is here, which is awesome because these things do not like lightning. She immediately takes to the skies and starts like holding off all of these dragons with lightning. Meanwhile, Venom is going down into the sewers where Carnage had what they call a hive. So part of this whole symbiote mythology that got adjusted is that when you have a bunch of symbiotes, you can have a hive. Through the hive, you can control all the symbiotes and anybody that they're in possession of. Eddie's idea is that he's going to basically fuse himself with Carnage's hive in order to try and break Null's hold on his hive, and maybe he can out-god a god.
Interesting.
Eddie connects to the hive, so step one is done. Unfortunately, he can see now a bunch of Null's plans, and it's not just the dragons, it's not just Null. Null has gone and symbioted Celestials. Celestials being the things from the Eternals, if you watch that movie.
Galaxy.
Yep, they are planet killers, basically. They were the ones that locked up Null in the first place eons ago, so apparently Null went and got revenge before coming to Earth. So
and stop.
Yeah, right? The Celestials land. Null comes out of one of their stomachs and basically says, I'm going to kill your world. Before I do that, though, I just want you to deliver Brock to me. He approaches the Avengers, and he's like, who are you all supposed to be? And Cap says, normally we'd be the last thing guys like you ever see, but today we're just here to watch. And that's when Sentry arrives. And Sentry basically like kills one of the Celestials by going through its head.
God bless. That character is something else.
And then just like,
He just started by shooting a hostage.
yes. And then just like grabs Null and flies into the air. And he's just like, you can call me Bob and this will all be over very soon. And Null's like, oh, no. See, you killed Carnage, which means that I have the knowledge of you and I know about you and I know everything Carnage knew about you. And, you guys only fought to like, you barely won that. So I'm just going to go ahead and rip you in half. And he does. He just murders the Sentry.
Which is crazy because that shouldn't be able to happen.
Right.
Tears it in two like tissue paper.
Because Sentry's like super Superman of the Marvel universe, right?
Yes. Yeah, Sentry is 100% the Superman analogy of the Marvel universe. So then Null kind of turns his attention back to the heroes. The ground is now saturated with symbiotes. So like he just pulls Cap into the ground like with a symbiote. Symbiote just start coming up and grabbing heroes and pulling them under the surface. Then he's like, yep, and just in case anybody from outside of Earth wants to come, I'm gonna make sure that there's no distractions. And then he has a bunch of symbiotes cocoon the world in like a symbiote barrier. Fucking comic books. His next thing is to go ahead and take out Storm, which he does because she's annoying him. Eddie, or Iron Man asks Eddie if he has any other plans. Eddie's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and give Null what he wants. So he disconnects himself from the hive and just kind of talks to his symbiote a little bit. And this is where the phrase "the last dance" is used for the Venom movie, because the symbiote and Eddie are basically like, all right, this is it. This is gonna be the last dance. Let's go meet our maker. The symbiote just sends like basically a call to Null. Null uses basically one of the Sentinel's hands to just crash through the street into the sewer where Eddie is and grab him and pull him up to him on top of a skyscraper, because of course. And Null is like, yes, I recognize you. You fought my dragon and lived, and I thought I had killed you. Well, that's funny, but this is my fault. I'm really sorry. I was not clear at all which Brock I wanted, and you are not it. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull that symbiote out of you. Thank you very much. I'm going to throw your body off the skyscraper. And that is where issue ends, is with Eddie basically falling
in his underwear.
in his underwear with no symbiote.
So, like, at some point, we have to discuss the spider symbol being on Null, right? Like, and I think I've read online where supposedly that's his symbol and that's where the Venom symbol came from. But, like, what?
Yeah, I don't fully understand it either, because I did notice that as well, and I don't have a good explanation for it.
I do not have an explanation at all. I am not that as familiar with Null. Null falls into that category of space Marvel.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm generally
Did
not.
he even exist in the comics until the storyline, or?
He was introduced, kind of, the idea of him was introduced in Absolute Carnage.
Yeah.
So he had been like a rumor thing. Yeah, this is his first, I believe this is his first full appearance. So issue 2 opens up with basically Eddie hitting the ground. And Peter Parker as Spider-Man comes over and tries to call for help. Eddie, who is somehow not dead, asks Peter to promise to watch over Dylan. Eddie's not dead, but he's in horrible shape. To which Null, from the top of a building, is like, honestly, how hard is it to kill one man? So yeah, Peter is taking care of Eddie. And that's when he finds out that Null didn't kill the other superheroes. Null symbioted them. So
that's cool. That's the thing that's happening now.
Yep. So now Spider-Man is facing symbioted versions of Cyclops, Captain America, Thing, Storm. I want to say the Hulk, and I have no idea who the other one is.
Yeah.
I can't tell.
Unclear.
Human Torch arrives in order to help, and basically is like, okay, cool. So I'm going to Nova Blast all these people and give you the chance to, go ahead and escape. And Peter's like, okay, but you know that's going to weaken you, and the symbiote's just going to take care of taking you over afterwards. He's like, yeah, so tell everyone that I said something witty. I have a reputation to uphold, but I just don't have anything right now.
Like he said in the post-credit scene of Deadpool.
Yes.
Wolverines.
Yes, absolutely. So Peter takes Eddie to the lab of the Fantastic Four, where Dr. Jane Foster is, who apparently is no longer Thor. She is now Valkyrie. And she diagnoses him as very near dead. Mostly. Good job, Doc. Yeah.
She's not that kind of doctor.
Spidey goes to the safe room to get Dylan. And Dylan is basically like, is my dad dead? And Peter's like, no, he wasn't when I left.
Mostly dead.
Yeah, mostly dead. Go through his pockets, look for loose change. But he says, I need you to come with me. And so they go back to the Fantastic Four building, where so the people that are working on a solution are Reed and Sue Storm, Valkyrie, Black Panther, and Blade. Blade is actually arguing with Professor X and Magneto, who are talking over like
Hologram.
thank you, the hologram things that they talked through. And he basically, Blade is like, you should take refugees to Krakoa. And Professor X and Magneto are like, what, our sovereign nation? Sorry, you're breaking up. Black Panther is like, okay, what if we use the Infinity Stones, the Cosmic Cube, or the Ultimate Nullifier? Can we break those out? And Blade's like, I mean, this is just one guy. We really want to do that. And Black Panther's like, this is one guy who in his opening salvo took over half of us. Yes, I think it's probably
Cocoon the world.
right. Which, by the way, credit for even bringing it up, because most of these stories never actually talk about these ultimate weapons, except to have them in the background.
Right.
Like the number of times on this show that we have seen the Ultimate Nullifier and nobody ever fucking uses it.
Yeah.
But they don't need any of those weapons because the ultimate weapon has arrived, and that is Namor. Namor.
But yeah, I think of when I think of ultimate weapons.
Listen, everybody knows that ultimate weapons have wings on their shoes. So yeah, Namor apparently was invited by Sue Storm. And he, does his over the top, banging his trident on the ground to stop everyone from talking, and says that his people have been fighting in the dark and cold for millions of years, and that is what will win the day. But does anybody also have a plan? And Tony's like, I've got a plan. It's a crazy plan. None of you are going to like it. But
else is new.
Yeah. Here's what we're going to do is I'm going to go and get one of those symbiote dragons, and I'm going to put it in Eddie, who has experience with symbiotes, and maybe he can then take over Null's hive.
Brilliant. Let's do it.
Because the other time he tried to take over the hive went so well.
Right.
So these dragon symbiotes, so they can still bond with people like normal symbiotes?
Yes, but they don't have to. They can survive on their own.
Okay, gotcha.
Namor and Blade go recruiting. Namor goes into the Marianas Trench, where apparently there is an Atlantean enemy called the Black Tide down there, which I know nothing about.
Yeah, same.
That's going to be Namor stuff. But I imagine they're badass Atlantean soldiers.
I guess we really don't do a lot of underwater Marvel either. Stays underwater to stay up sand land.
That's right. Yeah, Earth, nice and dry on Earth.
Yep.
Blade goes and fights through a shit ton of vampires to basically go and enlist the help of Dracula. And then finally, Kingpin walks into the bar with no name, which is a location where basically supervillains go and drink, and basically tells them all who wants to make some money. So Kingpin is going as the mayor of New York. He is the mayor of New York during this time, by the way, to go recruit a shit ton of villains. Meanwhile, Tony's plan is to fly into the dragon's mouth and inject it with Extremis, which is the DNA changing thing that he has invented that they used a little bit for Iron Man 3.
Mm-hmm.
In the comic,
Iron Man 3 it blew people up.
Yeah, in the comics, it's more like nanotechnology that rewrites you on a DNA level, which again, not great. Not something that Tony really should be doing, but he recodes the dragon's DNA, and then bonds with it.
Wait, that's not what the plan was, though, was?
No, not really. And so Tony's starting to go crazy from basically joining a hive mind with millions upon millions of voices. And he goes directly to Eddie's side and tries to basically put the dragon into him. Unfortunately, the dragon symbiote thing starts killing Eddie instead. Dylan,
No way.
who is over his dying father's body, blasts the symbiote with something out of his hand and vaporizes the dragon. Everybody's like, you have powers, apparently. You atomized that motherfucker with a thought. Awesome. And this is actually the scene where it is Tony Stark, but it looked like
Yeah.
to me.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, oh my God, you're incredible. This is fantastic. Meanwhile, underneath all of these panels is a sound going, "Ee," and nobody really notices until they look over and they realize that Eddie is dead. End of issue 2.
Hooray.
He's not dead. That's a comic book. Come on.
He's as dead as Vince McMahon in the exploding limo.
Oh my God.
Sue, Storm, Blade, and Dracula's army are fighting the symbiote heroes, trying to keep them out of the Fantastic Four's lab. Reed is deciphering information that Eddie gave him. And while it's encrypted, he can understand enough to see that Dylan is pulling his power energy from something otherworldly. He's not sure what. Spider-Man tells Dylan that he doesn't have to go fight it if he doesn't want to, but Dylan really, really does want to go fight. Something about his dad literally just dying has set him on edge.
Yeah.
Right. The symbiote heroes break in. Symbiote Cap throws his shield, to which Dylan does the really cool just turn around and catch the shield thing that people basically use to show that they're badasses. He then blasts the symbiote out of Cap. Meanwhile, on a nearby skyscraper, Null feels the symbiote be destroyed. And basically says, "Ah, yes, there you are." Back on the street, Dylan is like, "Uh-oh, I think it pissed it off because a bunch of symbiotes are coming out of everywhere."
A giant hand.
Yep. But that is when Thor arrives. And so Thor and Dylan start going through between them,
And Dylan's like, Dad?
yeah, right. There's a whole lot of talk here about how for every darkness there's a light. That'll come up later. Thor and Null go basically toe to toe, and Null's actually taking the fight to him. And then Thor cracks him in the face and knocks his lower jaw off. Which, it's a really heavy hammer. I can see that. What I don't understand is how Null can still talk.
Yeah. You do need a lower jaw to talk, generally.
I mean, there's precedence for that, though, in the Marvel.
Yeah.
Being able to talk about having a bottom jaw, or math in general. But.
So oh yeah, go ahead.
So I'm confused here because Thor's going toe to toe with him, but Sentry just got ripped in half in a second.
You are correct. That does not make any sense. That should never have happened. This is definitely a case where I don't know if the writer maybe wasn't as familiar with Sentry or what, but it was such a weird lapse that I read it a couple times. I read it twice. I read those pages twice to make sure that I was understanding what happened. And yeah, so no, you are correct. I don't have any explanation for how or why that happened.
Writer is a Thor fan.
Apparently,
yes.
So in response to his lower jaw being knocked off, Null is not happy, and so activates the Celestials that just start lasering the world. No real rhyme or reason, just destroy the world. He also stabs Thor, and doesn't kill him, but starts to take him down. Reed Richards is watching the scene and yells that somebody needs to get Dylan out of there. Tony's like, okay, well, you guys go get Dylan. I'll take care of the Celestials. To which Reed is like, how the fuck are you planning on taking care of the Celestials? And Tony says, you remember that extremist dragon that I made? I'm going to have it bond with the Celestial, and then I'm going to wear the Celestial like my favorite new suit of armor.
Oh,
This is great.
This is fan fiction. Oh, Which he
I
does,
was just waiting for the words "extremist dragon" to come out, and
right? Yep.
I'm so happy right now.
You were not disappointed. So yes, Tony, in fact, uses the extremist dragon, takes over a Celestial, and fights the other Celestial. And at that time, you see that Silver Surfer is on his way.
He's the like Sentry's death.
I do like how when he takes over the Celestial and fights the other Celestial, instead of like lasering him like they were to destroy the planet, he just punches them. Clang.
Did you say Clang?
So basically,
End of issue 3, beginning of issue 4. Null basically goes to Dylan in his head. He tells him that the power that Dylan wields was created to destroy him. And you know what? He'll end the war. He'll leave Earth alone if Dylan joins him. Says Dylan has the only thing that can really hurt him. Tell you what, Dylan joins him and like holds out his hand in that "join me," my child. And Dylan like takes his hand and is like, "Yep, you killed my dad." And it like zaps Null. He starts to work through Null to basically free everyone from the hive. At that point, there is a voice that breaks through everyone, and it links all the superheroes. So basically, all the superheroes now are in a mind link. Felicia Hardy, who I do know at this time, is one of Doctor Strange's apprentices.
What?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
2020. And she brings him a staff that he had asked for. Doctor Strange grabs the staff. Says, well, if Null believes himself to be a god, well, then 2 can play at that game. And I had to look this up. Apparently, Doctor Strange can go Super Saiyan because he can be an Asgardian god when he wants. What? Question mark?
yeah. Again, unclear. We just don't know.
I feel like I have homework from this episode.
Believe me, so do y'all.
I mean, it's going to be Doctor Strange in Asgard stuff, so wait for it to get real weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, to their credit, this writer did do a lot of deep dives into shit. So the voice that is in everyone's heads basically coordinates everyone. So with thunder, magic, and other coordinated blows, they filter all the symbiote dragons basically to the center of the city to gather them up. And that's when Namor is in. Namor and the Black Tide apparently can control the ocean. So send a bunch of water into the middle of the city where all the dragons are. And then Storm and Thor hit all the ocean water with lightning. Yeah.
No, I don't have an answer for that.
Don't even know what to ask.
Null grabs Dylan and is basically like, you haven't beaten me and you're alone. No one's coming to help you. To which the voice that had linked everyone's minds kind of shows up, and it's Jean Grey. And she goes into Null's head looking for a weakness, and doesn't find one at first, because she's basically going through the mind of an eternal god being. But she does see that there is a counter to Null's symbiote. It's a symbiote of light that was created as a counterpoint. And it is arriving at the Earth. But it can't get through the symbiote cocoon. So it's just like kind of hanging out outside the Earth's orbit. That's when Silver Surfer shows up and is able to basically make a hole with cosmic energy for whatever this ball of light is. Silver Surfer talks to the ball of light and says, "Oh, you're not here for me. Go then. Go and find your warrior." So apparently the symbiote of light will only bond with one person. Reed Richards figures out that they have encountered this energy before, and it is called the Enigma Force. The Enigma Force is the energy that has made heroes in the past become a superhero known as Captain Universe.
Sorry, did you say the Ligma Force? I'm sorry.
I'm not falling for that. We're almost done. The Enigma Force chooses Eddie, who becomes the new Captain Universe. That is the end of issue 4. Issue 5. The Silver Surfer and Null stand toe to toe. And Silver Surfer is basically like, yeah, I mean, I probably can't take you, but I can probably keep you busy until the this new person arrives. To which all the other X-Men and Avengers are all like, nope, you won't face it alone. Let's do this. And so they all start to fight Null. And then there's like, as they're running up, there's a giant like kaboom. And it's Eddie, Captain Universe Eddie, who basically says, I'll take it from here, or we'll take it from here.
Who just looks like Venom with like smoking eyes.
And a glowy thing on his chest. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. He reaches out and summons Mjolnir into one hand and the Silver Surfer's board, which is in the shape of a sword at the time, into the other.
I quit.
Slams them together and creates a battle axe out of them both. If you need a break, I understand.
I might not come back.
So yeah, Null and Eddie start fighting. The others realize that there's still symbiotes everywhere, so they're trying to, hold them back. Null sends a Celestial after Eddie, who just chops its head off. Yeah. Spider-Man is all of us with just a little panel where he says, I hate this symbiote stuff. Eddie, grabs Null, takes him to the very same skyscraper that Null had pulled his symbiote out and thrown him off of, pulls all of Null's symbiotes out, cuts them out with the ultimate axe, and then throws him off the building in his underwear. Null hits the ground, Eddie goes down and says, we are done. Null basically says, you may be able to kill me, but my darkness lives on in your son. To which Eddie's like, oh, you want to talk about my son? Fuck you. Grabs him, flies to the sun, and atomizes Null.
Sir.
Sure. Like, so he's just like pushing him into the surface of the sun like that. That's how that works.
Yeah, absolutely how that works. And at that point, he starts to hear all of the voices of the hive that Null had been controlling, that they're free now, except not entirely. The vampires that have all been fighting with Blade turn on him, and go to kill.
I did otherwise.
Yep. And go to kill Blade, to which like Eddie crashes down and just vaporizes all of them. Let's see. Thor and the Silver Surfer are able to call their hammer and board out of this axe thing. All of New York is covered in symbiotes. And then Dylan screams out in pain because the piece of Null that's in him is starting to basically come out and take him over. The Horcrux is activating. Eddie gives him a hug and says, this will hurt, but uses the cosmic force to reach into Dylan's chest, pull out the piece of Null, and kill it, vaporize it. Therefore, freeing Dylan from the darkness.
So you would think that if it was so simple as to somebody like just intuitively like, hey, I'm going to use this power, reach in and pull that out. Like the King of Black should have just kept his damn mouth shut.
Right?
And
One would,
You'd think.
then you wouldn't have that on your mind.
that's right. Got him monologuing. The Enigma Force leaves Eddie, but gives him his original symbiote. All of the other symbiotes start like reacting to Eddie. And he leaves Dylan and like basically flies up into the sky with all the other symbiotes, because he is the new King in Black. And that is where that ends. That is the end of that comic.
What's that Joker face right there at the end?
It's a variant issue of Null, like, eating the world.
This was certainly an experience.
So, kind of a short and sweet one this week, but Corey, how did we do explaining the King in Black?
Oh, you did well. You did well.
How well could anyone do explaining?
Yeah, no kidding.
How do I keep picking? Now, to be fair, Sins of Sinister was you guys' fault.
Yes, sure, we did for that one.
This one's on me. I straight up asked about this one. I had heard about the storyline and it looked interesting, and I didn't count on how bonkers it would be.
Like, in fairness, we didn't know what this was either. That was
Sure. It's very, very true. Oh, well, that was that.
That was
I am curious how the Venom movie is going to change that at all now.
Yeah.
So, that was King in Black. Thank you for joining us and for bringing us yet another of these wonderful stories. Please tune in next week, everyone, when we will be doing another event with more vampires and the sun being blotted out again. We are going to do Blood Hunt.
Yeah.
But until then, take it away, Vandello.
Ligma Force.
A little wreck conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration alienating me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Vandello 2021.